Okay, so another day, another dumbass Joe Rogan clip. This is Joe Rogan talking with Bridget Fetisi, whoever the fuck Bridget. You know, I know who she is because of Joe Rogan, but without Joe Rogan, who is this lady, right? She a blogger? Who is this retarded looking bitch? She never makes any good points. You know, she looks inbred. If you look inbred and you sound inbred, I think chances are you're probably fucking inbred. So, this is Joe Rogan and Bridget Fetisi talking about on episode 2270 talking about Elon Musk protests, Medicare fraud supposedly. Let's just get into it and then I'll comment as we go along, shall we?
The Joe Rogan Experience.
When you're looking at all this crazy shit right now with Doge and
By the way, look at this mother. Look at how poorly this motherfucker is aging. You know, I drew two or three versions of Rogan for my cartoons recently, and I guess I picked some older photos as reference photos because goddamn he's looking old. I might have to update my
the
drawings.
uncovering of USAID and this dismantling of this bizarre left-wing ecosystem that's pretty much manufactured. Like,
What bizarre left-wing ecosystem that's pretty much manufactured. What does that even mean? Like, you don't believe that there are liberal people in the world, Joe? What the fuck does that even mean? You know, anytime there's a left-leaning protest or a left-leaning movement, oh, it's manufactured. George Soros is paying people to show up, blah blah blah. But when your guy Elon literally offers people millions to vote for Trump, that's not manufactured? You know, I have no problem with disagreeing with someone if it's a matter of opinion. But Joe Rogan is no longer even living in reality. Anytime someone disagrees with you and your guys, it's manufactured. I mean, what the fuck?
what do you see is going to happen with the rest of the country?
And look at how tired this motherfucker looks. I mean, there is no light in those eyes whatsoever. What's going on with Joe Rogan? Why does he always look angry? Why does he always look beat down? Why are your arms getting smaller, bro? I used to watch Joe Rogan all the time. Looks like you're losing a little bit of muscle mass. Oh, well, you're almost 60 now, right? So I guess age is catching up to you.
I mean, look, there are a lot of people who did not vote for Trump. You know, he won, and yes, he won every swing state. And
Half the country.
There are more Americans that did not vote for Trump than did vote for Trump. Supposedly, 15 million registered Democrats did not vote, supposedly. Now, if you've heard Greg Palast, the legendary journalist, talk about this stuff, it is very, very likely that Kamala Harris actually won the election. And through these vigilante vote challenging schemes, they essentially had millions of Democratic votes thrown out, right? Now, it's hard to confirm all the numbers and stuff, but at the very least, we know that hundreds of thousands of votes were thrown out. I'm assuming it was millions. I don't believe for 1 second that 15 million Democratic voters stayed home. I don't buy that. I really don't.
Country's a lot of people.
yeah, it's a lot of people. So, and I'm not sure how many of them. I wonder how many. So I have a couple questions. How many people didn't vote for Trump and wanted to and are secretly glad he won? I bet there's.
Why no one watches how you vote? It's completely private. So if you wanted Trump to win, why would you not vote for Trump? Now, of course, there's a certain amount of people every election that have a preference but don't vote because they're quote unquote busy or they're just, you know, lazy or whatever, of course. But if you went to the polls and you wanted Trump to win, I'm fairly certain you voted for Trump.
Pretty significant number of those people who either didn't vote or didn't vote for him but wanted him to win anyway.
Is she like the most abrasive gross person you've ever. I mean, listen to the way she talks. She sounds like a cartoon character that's been designed to be off-putting.
Says that. Ari says that New York City is like relaxed.
Yeah.
It's like everybody was relaxed after the election. Like even the liberals are like, whew.
Yeah, thank God. They're
Yeah.
like, woo.
Yeah, like thank you God you saved me from myself.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure all the liberals in New York were like, thank God Trump won. Oh, thank God we're not going to have communist Kamala in there. This is just deluded, man. This is so deluded. You really don't think that Trump has opponents? You really don't think that liberals exist? I mean, this doesn't make any sense. Why would they be like, oh, thank God? I know I live in a liberal state. I know a lot of liberals. Pretty much everyone I know is a liberal, and not a single one of them was like, "Oh, thank God you saved me from myself." I mean, what we're supposed to believe this anecdotal bullshit that what's his name, Ari Shafir supposedly told you?
This is God doing for us what we can't do for ourselves. Yeah, so there's that, I wonder, but then
God doing for us what we can't do for ourselves. Oh my God. Right now we have a wannabe dictator who's surrounding himself with billionaire oligarchs. This guy is unraveling the government. He's getting rid of social programs that Americans and people all around the world rely on. You know, USAID. And for what? Why are they doing that? Well, because they want tax cuts for the rich. And if you're going to do a whole bunch of big sweeping tax cuts, you got to cut government funding from somewhere, right? So they're going to try to dig into your Medicaid, your Medicare, your Social Security, you know, any of the quote unquote entitlement programs. Because you don't need to eat, right? Let Elon Musk become the first trillionaire in the world. Meanwhile, you know, children are going hungry. I grew up with a couple kids that, you know, without school lunches, those kids would have just went hungry. They never had food at their house. It takes a certain kind of evil to take funding away from children's cancer research, you know, and to deny children free school lunches. That's cartoonishly evil, right? And they'll say, well, yeah, entitlements and fraud. You know, I have no doubt that there's some waste in the government. Of course, there's some waste in the government. How much waste? Not nearly as much as they want you to believe, right? And we can disagree about what waste is. You know, is the weather service waste? Would America collapse tomorrow if we didn't have a weather service? Maybe not, but shouldn't the government have a good idea of what's going on with the weather? Now, Republicans probably wouldn't want that because, oh, you know, those climate scientists, they all want to, you know, stop fossil fuels, and we can't have that, so fuck those guys, right? But what are we even talking about here? They want to run the government like it's a business. The government is not a business. It never has been a business. You know, the sole goal of a business is to increase quarterly profits, right? To make more money. That's not the goal of the U.S. government. The goal of the U.S. government is to protect and take care of American citizens. If you're born disabled in this world, should you just be fucked? Should you just be left out in the cold to die? Is that what civilization means to you? I mean, really, is that what civilization means to you? That we just let kids die. We just let people, we let the disenfranchised suffer and die. Is that really what we're doing? Is that what you want your legacy to be? That you supported the guy that took food out of the mouths of babies? And then you sat there and laughed and said, "Oh, God really bailed us out that time." Fucking sick.
I do wonder how many of the people are. What I worry about is how much mental. This is where I get mad at the media for presenting this like this is Hitler. We're having it notched up to 11 for the past 8 years.
Well, the media reports on what Trump's doing. They report on his lies. They report on his bullshit. They report on his Russian collusion. You know. And by the way, they kind of give him a pass on a lot of things. There's a lot of things about Trump that they don't talk about ad nauseum. Like Epstein, for instance. Like the fact that Epstein himself said that he and Trump were really good friends. You know. But because the media was honest about a lot of what Trump is, oh, it's Trump derangement syndrome. It couldn't be that this guy's really a bad guy. That's impossible, right? It couldn't be that everything that the media is saying is true. Oh no. That couldn't be. No, it has to be that it's this Trump derangement syndrome, this, you know, media-wide conspiracy to bring down Trump because Trump's an outsider and he's going to drain the swamp. Look, this is what quote-unquote draining the swamp looks like. Tax cuts for billionaires, right? Surrounding yourself with billionaires and letting billionaires, unelected oligarchs, make policy decisions. That's not even a get into the fact that the United States government has 3 branches. And those 3 branches are designed as checks and balances on each other. Right? The president is not supposed to be setting policy. Executive orders exist basically for emergencies, you know, for being attacked or there's, you know, some sort of great natural disaster or whatever. They don't exist so that the president can sit around and pass policy. The legislative branch is supposed to pass policy. They're supposed to make law, right? And the judicial branch is supposed to basically observe both and make sure both are not violating the Constitution, right? Make sure the laws are constitutional and make sure that the president's actions are constitutional. But you got this guy over here saying, well, he who saves his country breaks no law, you know, quoting Napoleon. What the fuck? That's not America, bro. You want to be a king, a dictator, but that's not what America is. We're not a dictatorship. We're not a monarchy. We're a democracy. And yes, it's imperfect, right? You know, I don't like the Electoral College. I don't like what Greg Palast has reported on about the vigilante, voter challenges. It's not perfect. But it's damn for sure better than Russia, right? Or China. And that's the direction we're heading in right now. This guy wants to be king. But no, any opposition to the president that wants to be king must be, you know, this contrived George Soros bullshit. It couldn't be authentic. It couldn't be grassroots. It couldn't be that American people actually care about the Constitution and American people actually care about the poor and children. Oh, that couldn't.
And now you've got this, because he was put in, it's almost like that energy has been transferred to Elon now. Because now, did you see the Elon protests? They're protesting Elon. They're
How ignorant do you have to be to not understand why people would be protesting Elon? Right? Like it's like she can't even fathom why it's a bad thing that there's a billionaire, an unelected billionaire, not even an American, some unelected South African billionaire rifling through our Social Security, our Medicaid, our Medicare, and trying to cut it. I mean, is it really that hard to understand why people would protest that, Bridget? You know, this is the thing about the right. They're disingenuous. It's hard for me to believe that this lady is this stupid, right? I mean, maybe she is. I'm sure if you watch nothing but right-wing media, you have a completely skewed vision of how things are. And look, you know, I don't watch right-wing media because it's nauseating and it's bullshit. But I still know that there's a bunch of idiots out there that agree with Trump. You know? I mean, the fact that these people cannot fathom that Elon has detractors says so much about the echo chamber that they're in.
Literally standing out there with signs that say arrest Elon Musk.
Listen, I guarantee it's organized. I guarantee it's organized by the same people that are going to lose a shitload of money based on all these discoveries at Doge. There's no way they're not. If you look at what Doge is uncovering, what they're uncovering with this USAID stuff, a lot of that stuff.
So they haven't been able to show any of this supposed fraud. They haven't come with evidence. They haven't come with proof. You know, they say, oh, USAID was sending condoms to, well, you know, sending if that was the case, sending condoms to a African country that's being racked with AIDS is not a terrible thing, right? I mean, condoms are not the most expensive thing in the world, and that can make a huge difference if that's the case. You know, if you have AIDS running wild in Chad and you send fucking 1 million condoms over there, it's not going to cost that much money. And it's going to do a whole lot of good. Right? And again, I have no doubt that there is some waste. I know that there's some waste. Of course there is. But Joe Rogan seems to believe that the entire government, the entire federal government, is full of con artists. And the entire federal government is this giant con job, which is just simply not true. You know, he has conspiracy brain rot at this point. You know, he's talking about these people in the government. Oh, they're just trying to be rich. They're just trying to stuff their pockets. But dude, Elon and Trump are billionaires. You know, Elon is supposedly the richest man in the world. How do you think you become the richest man in the world? By being nice and playing by the rules and being a good guy? Is that how that works? You know, there's that famous statistic about, I think there's 2% of the population is sociopaths or psychopaths. And when you look at CEOs, the percentage goes way up, right? I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but somewhere like 30 or 50% or something. And you think about that, yeah, it kind of makes sense that to climb to the top, you'd have to be a ruthless son of a bitch. You know, most people don't want to be the richest man in the world. They might think that sounds great, but they don't want that. You don't want to be Elon Musk. It takes a special kind of piece of shit to make your entire existence, your entire being about gathering more resources in the form of money. But no, it's not Musk and Trump. You know, Trump isn't the con man, even though the day before his inauguration, he was pumping out meme coins to, you know, basically con his followers. No, Trump and Musk aren't the crooked ones. It's the, you know, federal employee that's making $50,000 a year. They're the one that's robbing us all blind. It's them. This is what the rich do, right? Divide and conquer. This is what the rich do. They convince other rich guys. I mean, we shouldn't be surprised that this fucking egghead has the opinions he has now. He's worth $500 million. You know, we shouldn't be surprised. COVID broke his brain, and at the same time, they handed him $200 million. It's not actually probably closer to $300 million. It's not that surprising to me. It's sad. I used to love this guy. I used to watch this guy all the time before COVID broke his brain.
Was organizing through NGOs protests. They organized the attempt at getting Trump impeached.
I thought you were going to say killed.
They
I was
organized
like,
the impeachment.
That's come out.
Well, what do you mean? Of course. I mean, Congress has to get together and decide. You know, the Democrats have to get together and decide that's what they're. Of course, they organize that. What do you even mean, Joe? What do you even mean? He deserved to be impeached the first time for the Russia stuff. You know, and frankly, after January 6th, it's crazy that he's not in prison. It's crazy that they let him run again. You know, I will never forgive the Democratic Party and, you know, the prosecutors. I can't remember his name, Jack something, for dragging their feet for so long. You know, it's unbelievable that they let this guy get elected again. And over the next 4 years, I mean, I don't think he's going to last 4 years, honestly. I don't know if he's going to have a heart attack. I don't know if we're going to have a civil war. But if you think about how much has happened in the last month since he's been president, it's impossible to imagine that he makes it 4 years.
They also USAID spent $50 million on the lab that invented coronavirus.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of money involved in this not working. And when you have a lot of money involved, you're going to have organized protest. When you see protests, we all want to think protests like the 1960s. Yeah, fight the war, man. It's like organic, like peace, love, and hippie shit. But that's not what this is. What this is organized, funded.
Imagine going to a protest. You know, there were nationwide protests on President's Day. You go to a protest, you do your thing. Everyone there is there of their own volition. They've all decided they've had enough. And then you hear this guy saying that, oh no, the protests are all fake. It's not organic. It's just so disingenuous, man. It's one thing if you disagree with them protesting, but it is so disingenuous to sit here and feed your right-wing audience this line that the protests themselves aren't even real, that there aren't really mad people out there, that there aren't really liberal people out there that are fed up with this shit. I mean, what reality are you living in, Joe Rogan? And what is it going to take? What is Trump and or Elon going to have to do for Joe Rogan to wake up, right? Is it even possible? I keep wondering this just generally about MAGA. Is there a move that could be made that will finally wake these people up? Because I don't know what it is, you know. I honestly don't know what it is. No matter what Trump does, no matter what the Republican Party does, they defend it. They have an excuse for it. You know, J.D. Vance goes over there and basically blames Ukraine for everything that's happened. Basically talks a bunch of shit to all of Europe. Trump calls Zelensky a dictator and sides with Putin. And it's like, you would think that would be enough for the people on the right to find, but no, they're all cheering it on. They're all acting like Zelensky's been the bad guy this whole time. What reality are you living in? Russia invaded Ukraine. What? Oh, well, Ukraine's corrupt and it's like these people honestly would have been supporting Hitler in 1939, and they would have been defending Hitler invading Poland. It's unbelievable.
Protests where someone is spending a lot of money and they're mobilizing other NGOs.
Kind of like how Elon was spending all that money to get people to vote for Trump.
Using their access to these mailing lists and all these different things. They're putting these things together.
Yeah, but do you think that the
He looks fucking miserable. He looks miserable. He looks fed up. He looks tired. He looks old and shitty. I mean, look at these bags, bro. Whew. For a guy that's talking about, oh, you gotta work out to be healthy, you gotta take your alpha brain. You sure look like shit, bro. God. You know what you look like? So have you guys seen those old man Halloween masks? That's what he looks like. He looks like he's a guy wearing an old man Halloween mask. You know, your skin looks like leather, bro. Whew.
Yeah, but do you think that the average liberal person, do you think that they're going to wake up and come around? Or do you think that...
Oh my God, the average... Oh my God. Do you think the average liberal person is going to wake up and come around? Like one day the liberals are going to wake up and say, you know what? Democracy was overrated. I think I like the idea of having a king. I think I like the idea of billionaires cutting my Social Security and robbing me blind while they stuff their fucking pockets. You know what? I think I'm coming around to this whole authoritarian dictatorship stuff. It sounds pretty good.
that they're going to be in like agony for 4 years and be...
What if it works? Like, what if the world gets safer, the country gets safer, the economy improves, and they don't...
Okay, so the world getting safer? No, not a chance. Europe is in the most peril it's been in since World War II, right? They no longer have us as an ally, keeping Russia at bay. You know, Putin is going to take this whole ordeal as a lesson that he can do what he wants now. There's no one that's going to stop him. The world's not getting safer, my friend. You think Islamic terrorism is going to go down when we start building bullshit in Gaza? You really think that's how that's going to work? You think when we're building resorts along Gaza that Hamas is just going to pack it up and say, I guess that's that. No more Palestine. You really think that's going to happen? You're not making anything safer. You know, how is Trump making anything safer when he alienates all of our allies? Right? And then let's go into the economy. How is proposing tariffs and crashing the stock market good for the economy? It's not. How is any of this good for the economy? None of it is. The fact of the matter is, even without Trump, we were kind of heading towards a recession. And now we're heading towards a fucking depression. Sometime within this year, 2025. So the real question is, when Joe sees Putin has become emboldened and, you know, tries to take more of Ukraine, or who knows what he's going to try to do. I think he wants to take Poland eventually, but when he sees that, when he sees, you know, the Middle East is basically in more turmoil than ever because of our Gaza policy, and when he sees that the economy's not getting any better because Trump doesn't actually care about making the economy better, he cares about making himself richer and the billionaires richer, more tax cuts for the rich. That's exactly what we need, Joe. As the middle class is disappearing, pretty much every American household is living paycheck to paycheck. That's what we need. More tax cuts for the rich. Yeah. And then we'll do tariffs, which is basically a tax on the working people, on the shrinking middle class and lower class, on the people that are struggling. They're going to pay that. But yeah, let's give corporations and rich people tax cuts. Oh, and that's not even to mention the subsidies. You know, how many subsidies does Elon Musk get from the American government? but they want to go in and cut your Social Security. Joe Rogan and Bridget Fetisi are not living in reality. They're just not. When is the last time Joe Rogan had a liberal on to explain any of this stuff to him? You know the answer to that. He hasn't had a liberal on in years. Not a true liberal.
Attack civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, all these things that everybody's worried about. And then at the end of it, you
And by the way, Joe Rogan has 3 daughters. So let that sink in. Look what you're doing to your daughters, bro. You know, Trump's the grab him by the pussy guy. Trump's a rapist. He's a litigated sex offender. You know, he was found liable for E.G. and Carroll. The Republican Party is going after women's rights, women's reproductive rights. You have 3 daughters, bro. I hope that at some point in the future, your daughters really consider what kind of piece of shit their dad was.
realize, like, hey, maybe I was wrong.
I mean, that's my question though. Are they capable of that kind of self-reflection?
Wrong about what? This is maddening. Wrong about what, Joe? They did reverse Roe v. Wade. They are firing people in the government based on skin color and gender. What are you talking about? Everything that the Democrats have been warning you about is coming to fruition. And you're still so lost up your own ass that you're sitting here saying, yeah, I wonder when they'll realize they were wrong. Wrong about what? Let's get into specifics here, motherfucker.
Be in like agony for 4 years and be.
What if it works? Like, what if the world gets safer, the country gets safer, the economy improves, and they don't attack?
And what if it doesn't work? At what point are you going to admit that you were wrong? You Neanderthal-looking piece of shit. At what point are you going to admit that? Are you ever going to admit it? Is it going to be like the Republicans that just will never admit Trump lost in 2020? You know? I mean, you know, it's one thing to disagree with someone and, you know, have a debate, go back and forth. It is a completely different thing to be a disingenuous piece of shit like Joe Rogan.
Civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, all these things that everybody's worried about. And then at the end of it, you realize, like, hey, maybe I was wrong.
I mean,
wrong about what? So part of Project 2025 and something that Republicans are pretty open about is getting rid of gay marriage, right? So what? I mean, wrong about what exactly? Trump promised to curb inflation on day one. He didn't do that. Inflation just keeps going up. You know, Republicans couldn't talk about anything but inflation and the border. And the second Trump gets elected, it's, you know, inflation's not a big deal anymore. Like, do you guys actually have principles? Do you guys actually have standards? Do you guys actually care about policy and what's going on? Or is this purely our team versus your team? We will say and do whatever we have to say and do to get elected, and fuck the consequences because we're too stupid to understand consequences anyway. That's what it feels like, honestly.
World gets safer, the country gets safer, the economy improves, and they don't attack civil rights, women's rights, gay rights, all these things that everybody's worried about. And then at the
But they already have. They already have, man. You know, they already overturned Roe v. Wade. That's been a long-standing, you know, since the 70s. That's been the standard. I can't think of the word. But what are you talking about?
the end of it, you realize, like, hey, maybe I was wrong.
I mean, that's my question though. Are they capable of that kind of self-reflection?
Are you capable of that kind of self-reflection? Because so far, everything we said about Donald Trump is coming to pass. And all the shit that you guys say is just factually untrue, right? You know, if we can't even agree on like the basic set of facts, then we can't have this conversation, man. You guys are living in fucking Trump reality. You're in a cult.
That
Well, we're saying they as if it's like one different, like one kind of person.
no, I mean
There's so many different people in they.
Agreed. I mean, when I say they, I mean people who have bought into the idea that this person is going to make everything worse and we're going to slip into a fascist technocracy.
Some of them.
He is making everything worse, and we are slipping into a fascist technocracy. I mean, Bridget, open your eyes, man. He's alienating all of our allies, all of our European allies, Mexico, Canada. He's alienating all of our allies, and he's embracing dictators. If you really don't think this guy is moving towards fascism, you need to have a fucking brain scan.
Some of them are going to slip right into it. Some of them are going to wake up and come around. You know, it's a test. It's a test of character. It's a test of objectivity. It's a test of introspect.
Oh my God. A test of character and objectivity. It is a test of character. It is. If you support Donald Trump at this late date, it is a test of character. It says a lot about your character, buddy. It says a lot about your character. That you're okay with abandoning Ukraine. That you're okay with alienating our allies. That you're okay with an unelected oligarch rummaging through our Social Security. It does say a lot about your character. And a lot about your objectivity. Because like I said before, when's the last time you had a dissenting opinion on your show, Joe? When's the last time you had a liberal on that could fact check your ass and tell you the truth about what's really going on here? The truth is you don't want to have those people on because you're in a little club now and you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to piss off your billionaire overlords. You're a fucking bitch.
There's a lot of things that are going to happen where people are going to have to wonder, like, what was I rooting for? When I was rooting for this progressive liberal government, what was I actually rooting for?
Yeah.
Was I rooting for war?
Fairness? Equality? You know, a tax system that doesn't bow down to billionaires? You know, there's no reason why I should be paying more taxes than a billionaire. I'm just some average dude. And I pay more taxes than someone like Elon Musk. In fact, honestly, Elon Musk, not only is he not paying taxes, but he's getting money from the government. They want to talk about entitlements and handouts. Meanwhile, this supposed richest man in the world is getting subsidies from the government. You know, I'm not on board with all the social liberal things that you guys talk about ad nauseum, right? I don't think transgender females should compete in women's sports, and I'm annoyed that liberals keep arguing that. I think all of us together need to say, no, that's stupid. Moving on. Let's talk about things that matter. Let's talk about the tax code, right? Let's talk about social programs that make a difference in ordinary Americans' lives. Let's talk about Ukraine and standing up to a authoritarian dictator in Putin that wants to conquer Ukraine and Poland. Like, do you really think that everyone that voted for Kamala Harris did so because they're woke? You really think that's what it... I mean, is that the simplicity of your worldview?
Warmongers who were making insane amounts of profit by funding overseas wars.
Yeah.
What was I rooting for? Was I rooting for a basic theft of our tax dollars that's gone to all these like completely useless?
They haven't been able to demonstrate any of this. The other day, Elon Musk tried saying, They saved 8 billion, you know, in one of the, and it turned out to be 8 million, which, you know, if someone handed me 8 million, sure, that's a lot. But in terms of the US government, 8 million is pennies. 8 million is nothing.
Endeavor.
Here's the big problem with this shit. You have an unelected oligarch in there. There's no oversight. Congress doesn't know what he's doing. The American people don't know what he's doing. He's giving himself access to systems that he should not have access to. If you want to go through Congress and sniff out any waste or abuse, go for it. You know, the American people are fine with that. I'm sure there's some waste. Go for it. Show us where the waste is. Go through Congress. Do it the right way, right? If that's actually what you want to do. That's not what they want to do. They want to siphon as much money from the U.S. government into their own pockets, right? And it doesn't matter where the money comes from. Obviously, they're going to start in the places that are going to give them the least amount of blowback and the places that affect them the least. But if you really think that they won't gut your Social Security or your Medicare, you're fucking crazy. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, these guys don't give a fuck about you and your family. They never have, and they never will.
That were only set up as ways to pilfer money.
Or the fall of America.
Yeah.
You know, this is a weird thing to like hate your own country so much that you want it to.
Liberals don't. I mean, I'm speaking for myself. I don't hate my country. I hate the people that voted for Trump, and I hate Trump. And by the way, Trump is antithetical to what this country is supposed to be about, right? You cannot say that you love this country and also love Trump. I don't know. I guess it's going to take a full-on suspension of the Constitution and him declaring himself king for these people to open their eyes. But honestly, even then, Bridget Fetisi would be saying, well, there were kings for thousands of years and it always worked out. What's the problem? Yeah, Bridget, why don't we just bring back slavery while we're at it? Yeah. We can all just be fucking peasants.
To fall, or the dismantling of the kind of West as we know it.
Yeah.
You know, I think there is a feeling that Elon might have saved the West.
Yeah.
I feel like at least he's trying to.
I think he did.
There's a feeling that Elon saved the West. Oh my God. I'm going to fucking bang my head in. I mean, I really hope that this is their little echo chamber. I really hope that even Republicans at this point are starting to realize what is in store for them. I really hope so. I really hope so, because if half the country still thinks Trump and Elon are the good guys, if half the country still thinks that Elon is saving the West, I don't even know what to say to that. It's so insane, right? It's the opposite of the truth. It's the opposite of what's going on.
I think he did, but just by buying X.
But isn't it funny that he got forced into it?
You know, Joe used to love complaining about Twitter and censorship. You won't ever hear him talking about Elon censoring people on Twitter, which he does ad nauseum. You won't ever hear him talking about the fact that Trump is suing. He's suing the Des Moines Register for polls that they published. Like, what, a newspaper can't publish a poll that ends up being incorrect without being sued by the president? What are we doing here? And he's suing CBS because CBS edited a Kamala Harris interview, even though Fox News has done the same thing with all of Trump's interviews? I mean, are you ever going to call a spade a spade? Are you ever going to open your eyes to what's really going on here? When you have a president suing news organizations frivolously, you have a problem, man. When you have a president saying, as long as I save the country, I break no law, or whatever the fuck, however he put it, and you don't smell authoritarianism, you don't smell a wannabe dictator, you are fucking fried, my dude.
I think there's like something kind of
funny
ironic.
because he was trying to get it at a lower price because he knew that they were bullshitting about the amount of bots.
Well, and then they came out yesterday and now it's profitable.
Yeah.
There was like a whole article about how he turned it around.
Of course it's going to be profitable. He's
Well,
smarter than you.
He is.
He is not that smart. I am so sick of this fucking bullshit. If Elon Musk wants to go around acting like the smartest guy, he has to go to a Mensa certified testing site and take a legitimate IQ test and let Mensa publish it. Otherwise, I do not want to hear any more of this bullshit about Elon being super genius. Oh, he's so smart. Oh, he's so smart. Elon has never invented a thing in his life. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth. If you can point to a single thing that translates to him being smart, I am all ears, but there isn't any. Who the fuck lies about being good at video games at 50 years old? You still think this guy is smart, Joe? Really? He's not smart. He's a fucking spastic loser.
Smarter. He also knows that we are all
Tapped in.
Oh,
yeah.
I can't stop it. Don't you think we're all in echo chambers though? Like
Sure.
you said, how do you stay outside of yours?
Drugs.
He does not. Joe Rogan doesn't stay outside of an echo chamber. Like I said, when's the last time he had a liberal on? You know, Fox News is less of an echo chamber than the JRE. At least Fox News has one liberal for every 4 conservatives, right? When is the last time Joe Rogan had someone like Kyle Kulinski on? The reason why he doesn't, by the way, is because Joe Rogan knows that he'll lose. He'll lose any little debate, and then he'll have to spend the next 3 months explaining why that person was wrong, even though when they were on the episode they crushed him, right? And he knows that his own fact checker, Jamie, is going to end up helping them because, honestly, the facts are not on Trump's side or Joe Rogan's side. They're just not. They're just not. They're going around claiming that there are tens of millions of Americans, dead Americans, that are receiving Social Security payments. Do you really believe that? That there are tens of millions of dead Americans receiving Social Security payments? I mean, if you're that gullible to think that the government is just willy-nilly handing out Social Security to all these dead people, to people that are 200 years old, I have a bridge to sell you. You're not very smart. And let me let you in on a little secret, okay? Trump doesn't believe that. Elon doesn't believe that. They know that's bullshit. But they also know that the dipshit truck driver in Tennessee will eat it up. You know, it's just as stupid as they're eating the pets, they're eating the cats. It's just as stupid as that bullshit, right? And there's a certain group of people in America, the uneducated, that'll eat it up.
Oh, that's true.
That's a lot. No, I'm kidding. You just got to be recognized like you're thinking. You have to have a process.
What's your process?
My-
I live.
It's a slap in the face that Joe Rogan's wearing a Muhammad Ali t-shirt, frankly. You know, Muhammad Ali was a great man. Muhammad Ali protested the Vietnam War. Joe Rogan is the type of piece of shit to promote the Vietnam War. Let's be honest.
I live by the Joe Rogan School of Interneting.
How's that?
I take all your advice. I don't read the comments and I post and ghost.
That's good.
I don't like get in there and
That's good. I definitely do that, and then
Paddle.
I think of like, what do I really think about something, and why do I think about it that way? And I try to go, is it because it's self-serving? Is it because I've said it in the past and I want to be right? What is it?
Well, a lot of it is self-serving, yeah. I mean, it's pretty convenient that the second you got a $200 million payment, you move to a state that has substantially lower taxes, and your politics suddenly switched from a pro-Bernie, I mean, I would call it, you got to be a Democrat if you're supporting Bernie, to a pro-Trump Republican. I mean, philosophically, you couldn't have a bigger switch, right, to go from Bernie to Trump. And what's your explanation for that? COVID. I mean, you don't even have a real reason for that. You used to be pro universal basic income, and then you had Maynard James Keenan on talking about how he couldn't get people to work in his vineyard, and on a dime, your opinion of universal basic income switched. It's like, dude, there is no underlying philosophy that you're living by. You know, you don't know what you believe. You believe whatever's convenient.
You know, like what makes me believe what I believe?
Yeah.
And then you have to do a deep dive and all the goddamn arguments back and forth to figure out who's right, and all the logic
But you're not doing a deep dive. Based on everything that you say on your show, it's blatantly obvious that you're getting your news from one side and parroting everything you hear, regardless of how stupid and bullshit it is, right?
and see people ignoring certain core facts. Like, this is the most fascinating thing about this USAID thing to me, is how people on the left are completely ignoring all the rampant, obvious corruption and conflicts of interest in the government funding.
It hasn't been proven. You have Trump and Elon stand up there and make these bogus claims. Oh, they're doing this, they're doing that, and it's like, we need congressional oversight. You need to actually show where this information's coming from and prove it. Just because Elon says there's all this fraud and abuse that we're finding, you turn around and say, oh yeah. Well, you don't require any evidence, Joe?
Non-government organizations that in turn fund the government.
Yeah.
Like, that's so crazy. And anybody that doesn't think that's crazy, it's like, what do you love money influencing everything in your daily life? Don't you think that
No, none of us do. I've heard a ton of liberals talk about this, and they're all okay with, you know, the idea that we need to look for ways, fraud, and abuse, or whatever you want to call it. That's fine, but you can't have some unelected oligarch rummaging through our systems, firing, you know, entire swaths of government workers without presenting any evidence of anything. This is a kangaroo court. This is not how government is supposed to be implemented. You know, a lot of this money, or all of this money, has been allocated by Congress. Shouldn't Congress have a hand in what they're doing? And by the way, it's a Republican Congress. So when I say Congress should be involved, I fully know that it would be a Republican Congress involved. You know, these courts, every time a federal judge strikes them down for what they're doing or tells them they have to stop or whatever, as far as I'm aware, every time it's been a conservative judge.
maybe we have a problem in that we have a huge deficit, and if part of our huge deficit, we're spending fucking billions of dollars every year on horse shit?
Yeah. I mean, that is my issue with people being like, see,
You got to prove it. You got to prove it. You got to prove that they're wasting this money, and then you got to prove where the money's actually going to go, right? I don't buy this shit that you have a corrupt billionaire in Trump, a guy that's so corrupt that he's sold meme coins before being president to capitalize on his presidency. I don't buy for 1 minute that these guys are gonna, oh yeah, the money's going. No, the money's going into their pocket. Anything that they cut is gonna get funneled directly into their pockets. You know, you don't think it's strange that all these organizations that Trump is going after, or that Elon is going after, previously were a problem for Elon in some way? You know, whether it's regulation or. You don't think that's interesting? You don't think it's interesting that every single one of those is a conflict of interest? You don't think it's interesting that Elon Musk, a guy that gets subsidies from the government, is going through and cutting government programs right? You don't think that's a conflict of interest? You don't think it's interesting that when asked about the conflicts of interest, they said, oh, well, Elon will recuse himself of any, like, what the fuck? We're supposed to let the crook police himself? How fucking stupid do you think we are? Oh, I'm sure Elon's such a good guy. He'll just recuse himself.
It is the like political thing isn't right, which is true. It's important to be accurate, but it's also like, yeah, but there's this money shouldn't be spent this way.
No.
So just because this thing is maybe not true, you're pointing to this one thing that could be people are misrepresenting, but there's a much bigger problem you seem to want to just sweep under the rug and say, oh, like you guys are just crazy.
Well, it's like an invented problem. Okay, there isn't nearly as much waste, fraud, and abuse as they're claiming. They haven't been able to demonstrate that there is as much. They haven't been able to demonstrate anything as far as proof goes. So what, we're just supposed to take their word for all this? We're just supposed to let them go through our Social Security and not ask any questions? You know, what's some guy going to do if they delete his Social Security? What's just some random, I mean, he can't, what's he going to do? It's their word versus his word. What's he going to do? What are millions of people going to do if they just delete their Social Security? Right? Trump's above the law. He already said as much.
For noticing all these connections. But didn't they make them stop or something? Did they freeze their ability
it's
to?
Frozen. Yeah.
These kids are nuts. That guy who like found the scroll, how to read the scroll from Pompeii.
Scrolls from Pompeii. Yeah, using AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they're wizards. That's the.
They're not wizards. Okay, if you're using AI to do anything, you're not a wizard. You're not. You're not. These broccoli-headed little bitch boys calling himself big balls. I fantasize about catching that motherfucker in a dark alley. I fantasize about what I would do to that motherfucker. They're not geniuses. They're Elon loyalists.
The kind of people that you want digging into this stuff.
Yeah.
And that's why Elon got them. I mean, he knows what the fuck he's doing.
That is not. Yeah, let's get some spoiled little Gen Z bitch boys who have no grasp of history, who don't understand the importance of programs like Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. You know, these little meme bitch boys, all they care about is the memes and the lulz. Let's get them in there. Oh, they're geniuses. Why are they geniuses? Because they use AI. Okay, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. These boys did not create AI.
It's all very strange because it's you're dealing with so many things that are happening at the same time. You have this technology that was never available before that is allowing people to freely express themselves online, right? And then you have this maniac billionaire who buys the biggest one and makes it the Wild West.
Oh, he makes it he censors plenty. He censors what he doesn't like. Sure, you can go on X and be pro Hitler. You know, you could go on there and be a racist, a misogynist. You could say the worst things about different groups of people, but if you say something he disagrees with, you'll get censored in a heartbeat, right?
West again. And then you have
Rules for thee, not for me.
government being exposed for what it is. So you have all these fucking NGOs, this web of, we talked about it yesterday, this web of 55,000 different NGOs that were supporting all these liberal causes that were all completely intertwined. And they had to use software to find that and to figure it out.
Yeah.
So they're finding out that this is like this complicated.
So what's the end game here, Joe? You think that there's this liberal conspiracy, this woke conspiracy. What's the end game? Why? Explain to me why a bunch of rich guys would give a shit about progressive policies, right? When in actual fact, it's the opposite. Progressive policies are a bane on the rich guy's existence. I mean, anyone with half a brain would realize this, that this is class warfare, that this is the rich versus the rest of us. And Joe Rogan has firmly put himself on the side of the rich. It's obvious. He could sit here and say, well, the government's wasting all this money and, you know, but you can't point to any of it. You guys can't actually pull out any evidence for any of this waste. You just assert that there's all this waste, and the people that believe you and follow Trump just buy it. This is, I mean,
propaganda network that existed. Look, that's not good.
No,
that's not good for anybody, left or right, because it's money. It's just money being used in a way. Not only that, here's the thing: like people like saying like the $10 billion. It's only $10 billion. So like that.
It was 8 million.
That kind of shit. What about the fucking people in Maui?
Yeah.
What about?
Oh, now you care about the people in Maui? I guarantee you, if Biden had sent more money to Maui, Republicans would be sitting here acting like he wasted it. You know, they're so insane. Ukraine got invaded by Russia, and they tried to make Zelensky and Biden the bad guys because they didn't want to spend money on defending Ukraine. But now, when it's convenient, I care about people when it's convenient. But when it's not convenient, or when it's convenient to trash people, to trash victims, all trash victims. Absolutely. You know, it's like Trump, when he was in California for the fires, he was trying to withhold aid for political concessions. It's like, that's not how we do things in America, bro. That's not how we do things in America. You don't only help the states that support you and leave the other states out to dry. You don't do that. We are so close to a civil war, it's not even funny.
That could have been fixed with $5 billion. The government could have said, we are going to rebuild those people's homes to the exact state and even better than where they were before. It's going to cost us $5 billion.
Well, how much money did you give to Hawaii, Joe? How much money did Elon give? I know that you're worth $500 million, right? So you wouldn't be able to give billions, but you could have given a hefty chunk. As far as I know, you never gave anything. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did give. I doubt it. I highly doubt it. How much money did Elon give? How much money did Trump give to Maui? You know, Elon's supposedly, this is highly inflated because the value of Tesla is highly overinflated, but Elon is supposedly worth $500 billion. So how much money did he give to Maui? Oh, interesting. Interesting.
All the money that we're sending over to Ukraine, all the money that we send to Israel, all the money we send.
Okay, the only time I agree with him, the money that we sent to Israel. But is Joe really anti-Israel? Probably not, right? He probably has a whole lot more to say about Zelensky in Ukraine than he does Netanyahu in Israel.
And to all these different organizations that work with USAID in the tune of billions and billions and billions of dollars. They could have done that And instead of doing that, they're telling us that what we have to do is continue to fund all these programs in all these other countries that just so conveniently have a whole staff of people that's making a great wage, and their political capital
Right.
is bet on all this stuff. And
They're making a great wage. I mean, I think a lot of these workers make 100,000. I think the high end I saw was like 200K, which is a lot. It's certainly more than I'll probably ever make in my life, but it's nowhere near what you're making for your shitty talk show, Joe Rogan. You know, I find it very strange when you have billionaires and almost billionaires in Joe Rogan criticizing average workers for their $200,000 a year. I find that kind of strange. Now, again, $200,000, yeah, that's a lot of money. How much school did someone that works for USAID and makes $200,000 a year go through, right? You know, these are supposed to be the guys that pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and you know, there's nothing wrong with making money, but if you're making a decent wage in the government, oh, there's something wrong with it because oh, that's my tax money. Well, it's not really your tax money, Joe. I don't think you're really paying taxes, to be quite honest. You're paying property taxes in Texas, but you are not paying your fair share of taxes. Let me put it that way. If we had a society that actually functioned properly and didn't just kowtow to rich guys, you would be paying much more in taxes. You fucking dummy.
all is involved with intertwined with these NGOs and all this money they're getting. And this is the thing. We have to go and help these people. We're going to starve. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. What about America?
Yeah, and then you
what
have
about
like
our tax dollars going into a safety net to help people?
See, there it is. Our tax dollars. Is it your tax dollar? Yeah. And you care about a safety net? I don't think so, buddy. You really care about a safety net? As your guy Donnie goes after Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. Oh, but that's okay because there are tens of millions of dead guys receiving... Oh, really? You really believe that? Despite the fact that there's no evidence, and despite the fact that it boggles the mind how that could even be possible. How could a 200-year-old dead guy be collecting Social Security? Even if you think the government's corrupt, wouldn't you assume that they'd be competent enough and smart enough to not be paying a 200-year-old dead guy his Social Security?
From one of the worst wildfires in history.
or North Carolina.
Or North Carolina.
Yeah.
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Apparently, none of those people have gotten any money in North Carolina.
No, and they're like sleeping in freaking tents in the freezing cold.
Exactly. All that could have been addressed too, the same way we address problems in other countries. So if you have this amazing slush fund that USAID is, and it's not being applied at all to the problems of America, why would you think people would support it?
Yeah.
Well, USAID, my understanding is USAID was not created to provide aid to Americans. USAID was created to provide aid to other places on behalf of U.S., right? That was the goal. And say what you will about, oh, we spend too much money overseas, or if we stop, if we retreat into ourselves and become isolationists, which is an option, we could do that, sure. Then what are we doing? We're surrendering the world to Russia and China. That's what we're doing. You know, Joe Rogan doesn't know it, I guess, because he's not a very bright guy. But we've been in a Cold War with Russia and China for probably the last 20 years, right? We had the big Cold War against the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union collapsed. There was like a 10-year period where it seemed like, oh, Russia's going to be just like us. And then, nope, Vladimir Putin came in. And yeah, for the past 20 years, we've been in a Cold War with Russia and China. And You can deny that if you want. I mean, okay, but it's a fact. So, what happens when we become isolationist? Well, who fills that power vacuum? China and Russia. So, in 50 years, when America is no longer the world superpower, and everyone, including us, including Americans, are taking orders from the Chinese, you can thank people like Donald Trump and Joe Rogan for doing that, for unraveling 80 years of foreign domestic policy. You can thank them for that.
Why would we support it with our tax dollars when we know that the country is massively in debt?
I mean, why support anything? Why did we enter World War II? Obviously, Pearl Harbor happened, right? But why? I mean, why help anyone, right? Why did France help us during the Revolutionary War? Why were we helping Ukraine? You know, it used to kind of be a knock on the U.S. that we're the world police, and yeah, we did a little bit too much of that, right? But we are supposed to be the good guys. We are supposed to be the ones that step in when Russia invades Ukraine. My whole life I've been proud of that. That we aren't isolationist jerks. That we aren't selfish jerks. My whole life I've been proud of the fact that we are the ones that help. We're the ones that are supposed to help. That used to be a huge point of pride for Americans. And Donald Trump and the Republican Party have turned that into a negative. God forbid we help people. You know how lucky you are to be born in America? And how gross it is to have that silver spoon in your mouth and be sitting there saying, well, fuck the rest of the world. Yeah, never mind the fact that you just got lucky and were born here.
Debt.
Well, and it's like I appreciate that there's so many problems. I think I do feel like for the first time ever, there is an actual transfer of power. Like every single election through my lifetime, there's been all the normal fighting between the two parties, and then the election happens and one party wins, and then nothing changes.
Yeah.
And you just keep sliding and sliding and sliding and sliding, and everybody says they're going to do.
So this is a fallacy. This idea that just because things are changing, that's a good thing. Most of the time, especially when you have this much change this fast, most of the time that's not a good thing, right? You know, progress takes time. Progress is a slow-moving process that has to be built up over time. And what we're seeing in the last month is a complete dismantling of 50 years of progress, frankly. You know, it takes a lot of time to build up progress. It doesn't take very much time to tear it down. And then you have to start all over again. Was America perfect? Is America perfect? Of course not. Right? But it could be way worse. And everyone, Republicans included, it might take them a while to figure it out. Everyone is about to figure that out. That it can be way worse, and it's going to be way worse.
Something and no one does anything, and then you have fucking Elon come in like a wrecking ball, and a very motivated and Trump who seems organized this time, and they actually feel like they're making.
It's not that he's organized this time. In fact, it's actually the opposite of that. This whole thing is a shit show. This isn't about organization. The difference between 2016 and now isn't he's more organized, right? Or 2017. The difference really is that he's pissed off, right? He almost went to prison for January 6th, and he has a vendetta. That's the difference. You know, you could call that motivated if you'd like, but he's angry, which is dangerous for the entire world. And you see it on his face every time he's interviewed, every time he's given a press conference. The dude looks fucking angry. Is that really what you want? I mean, is this really the type of guy we want leading the free world? A pissed off little fucking toddler shitting in his pants?
Making changes that, by the way, American people want.
Yeah,
Not
like the border. They fixed the border overnight. Overnight.
The American people do not want you to cut Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. They do not want you, rifling through all the programs without any oversight, willy-nilly. They don't want a bunch of broccoli-headed 20-year-olds that don't know anything about the world and are on Twitter tweeting racist bullshit. They don't want those guys looking at their fucking personal information. You know? I'm not a pollster. I don't know exactly what all of America wants, of course. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know like Joe Rogan does. But I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff's unpopular. I'm pretty sure the majority of Americans don't want us to turn our backs on Europe and Ukraine and side with Vladimir Putin. That's pretty gross, right? It's pretty gross.
The looking into there, my friend Max Meyer was saying, he's a very smart guy. He was saying no one with any numerical ability has ever looked into Medicare and Medicaid fraud, ever.
Based on what? I mean, what does that even mean? No one with any numerical ability. First of all, Elon does not have numerical ability. Elon's not a real engineer. He's not a software coder, whatever you call that. He doesn't know anything about anything, right? He's full of shit. He's full of shit. He learns a couple buzzwords so that he can pretend he knows what he's talking about. Okay, go watch Sam Harris talk about Elon Musk. Go watch Sam Altman talk about all the Sams. Go watch Sam Altman talk about Elon Musk. Go watch other people that are actually known for being very high IQ individuals talk about Elon Musk and what Elon Musk knows and doesn't know. Again, they got to stop calling this guy a genius. I'm going to need some fucking proof, okay? I'm going to need a verified Mensa IQ test if you're going to keep calling yourself the smartest guy in the world.
Like,
that's what they're cracking into next.
There's a lot of money there that is like provider side fraud, where it's just inflated.
Wasn't that Sonny Hostin's husband? Isn't he involved in a RICO lawsuit?
Oh, I don't know.
About insurance fraud?
The View.
Anyway, you get the picture. That this is just, it's ridiculous that at one time I respected this man. At one time I thought he was reasonably intelligent. At one time, he endorsed Bernie Sanders. And this is what he's become. This is what he's become. A propaganda shilling piece of shit. So, there it is. Fuck you, Joe Rogan. Please like and subscribe. I'm making lots of cartoons on this channel. And, yeah. See you later. Final Stand Studios.